Hello and welcome back to the Growth Engine Show, episode 12 with Trice Alford and me, Ryan Parshall. We are sponsored by Healthy Brands Coaching and Business Brokering, and we help you grow, buy, or sell your business. And Trice, we are on our third episode talking about marketing in the down economy, but today's topic is centered around what?
Yeah, today we're going to talk about a whole hodgepodge of things. It's going to really be around your brand, your message, and content. And the reason this is relevant right now is you're approaching or you're in a down economy. Your competitive set is shifting. Your customers are shifting. Things are changing quickly. It's a great time to look at your business and your marketing and reflect on who we are, what we do, how we serve customers, who those customers are, and how we market to them. And if you need to, it's a great time to pivot. I know that you and I both have lived through an economy. Have you seen anything before, like where people do a good job of this, or they make shifts in approaching an economy, shift like this?
I have seen mostly failure in this. I've seen CEOs, business owners completely freeze up. Like, gosh, I mean, they're panicking inside, right? I've seen that. I've seen, don't change anything. We know what works, or we think we know what works. And if we change something, we could be wrong and we could fail. And they tighten up. And so, I mean, they're scared, rightfully so. I mean, that's like, you got a lot to risk here. Your livelihood, the people who work for you, their livelihood. So, yeah, I understand that lack and the resistance to change, so, but our jobs as CMOs, marketing leaders, anybody on the C-suite, our jobs is to kind of like get a little closer into that CEO and really kind of reassure them, like, we got your back, let's move forward, like, in a strong way. Let's go. Pull together as a team, right?
Yep. Yeah. I think it's that. And like, your job is to spot the strategic opportunity. Your job is to guide the decision-making when there are great strategic opportunities. A recession is a shift in strategic opportunity. And you have to be a reflection of that just as much as the CEO does. And, if whether this is in how you hire people, or your operations, or your marketing, your finances, anything, this is a pivot time of recession. And you have to look at, what do we do? Is it right? What's going on in the market? How do we accommodate that? How do we shift to that? How do we maximize our strategic opportunity? That's what this is about. And we're the growth engine. We want to talk about growth. A recession can be a time of growth if you look at it in these ways and say, do I need to make a shift? Do I understand who my customers are and what they do and what they need from me? And am I giving it to them? And am I telling them that I give it to them the right way? And that's all this is. So I know you do a lot with people when it comes to branding, positioning, messaging, talking about sort of in the beginning, your vision of who you are as a business and your core values. And I think for most people, that stuff doesn't change a lot in a recession, because you're still who you are and you still want to serve customers a certain way. And that's probably true, but a lot about, maybe your brand, your personality, your selling opposition, your selling opportunity, your selling position, that kind of thing. Maybe that shifts a little bit. From your perspective, doing a lot of this kind of work on either side of those, do you see shifts a lot here where people make changes to who they are fundamentally, or how they go to market in a selling way?
Again, no, I don't see them making changes. I don't see the shifts happening. And, last time we went through this, in the early 2000s, I saw more changes too late and at the last second, when things were just turning around, than I did when they should have done it early on. And what I'm seeing, like, if I was to use real life experiences this week, I have a lot of people reaching out to me and saying, look, I have a company, I have a quote brand that hasn't really done much the last couple of years, and it's not getting better, and I need help like right now. And it's kind of in a panic mode situation where, again, they've waited too late, or they are really aware that something's not right in their business. And what's not right is they don't have this brand identified. Like they don't understand, they don't even know that to say. They don't even know
Yeah.
the words to use. They need help. And when I'm looking at it, the first thing I see is you have no brand and you really have no understanding of your benefits, if you have a USP, some do and don't even really know how to even phrase that.
Yeah.
And how do you package that and putting into messaging and marketing? And oftentimes it's the company has a name and here's what we do. And then they go hire a social media person because they were told that's how you get business today. And they're just randomly posting stuff related to what they do,
Yeah.
but no real strategy, no stories behind it, no show and tell, no solve. Like there's just nothing of any substance
Yeah.
that would make somebody go, I need that or want that. And I want to focus on stories if we could on that piece of it.
Yes.
When there's a down economy, stories are crucial. I talked to a person today who specializes in storytelling for companies and for entrepreneurs, and she was really kind of like trying to get me to tell my story. And it's important. It's important that you can be human at these times and not salesy and not promotional and gimmicky. And it's like, look, people want to hear good story. They will actually still spend money. They're just tighter with it. I think you mentioned that in the last episode.
Yeah.
And so if they like you and they have a need, or you can convince them of a need and your story is good, business will continue. So storytelling is important to back up your brand
Yep.
in the way you want people to view your company right now.
Yeah. You're hitting it right on the head. I like to talk about this a lot with people. In fact, most of the businesses I've worked with, one of the very first things I say to them is when they ask me what we're going to need, I'm going to say, well, I'm going to give you strategy. I'm going to lay plans. I'm going to build teams. But the first person we're going to need is somebody to help us tell our story, because we can get, and that's what this is really about. If you're talking about your mission, your core values, and then your brand, your identity, who are we? And then you get to differentiators and messaging and selling proposition of like, how do we take that to a customer and how do we talk about ourselves? All of that is the precursor to storytelling. And I to your point, if you haven't done this work, this is the time. You really need to know who you are and who your customers are, and how you speak to them about what your differentiators are, because that's your story. And now you get a professional storyteller in there to help you take these ideas and these thoughts and make them great messages and make them great visuals and great articles. And eventually, like the second part of this topic today is content, because that's how you make people aware of who you are, and also inform them about what you do and who you are as a person, just to your point, so that because then they say, well, I need that, and I like this person, I like what they're about, and now I need to know more. And they self-initiate the funnel to you, which is what today's marketing is based on, that self-initiation of the funnel. The vast majority of, especially corporate B2B SaaS companies,
Mm-hmm.
the funnel comes to you. Your job is to increase awareness over and over and over again with people, and to identify that this person in this part of the stage, maybe way early up here, is later going to be the decision maker. Sorry, I'm like blocking myself, but the decision maker down here. And how do I get them from here to here? Well, it's this stories. Keep telling keep telling your story in different ways, and that ultimately will be how you get somebody to mature to the point where they're like, I need to talk to someone.
Yeah.
In the traditional contractor, retail, home services kind of businesses that we've both been a part of, it's a little the other way around. A lot of times there's a lot of outbound sales or outbound promotion marketing that happens, but in B2B, it's the reverse. And knowing who you are and telling great stories is how you get people there.
Yeah. People will people tune out, uh, commercials, sales, promotions, right? They tune them out.
Yeah.
But if you can make a compelling story, or if you have, something heartfelt, you have something really with meaning behind it that people can relate to, like, they're going to listen, they're going to tune in. And so that's really the only way you can get their attention now. And so I'm a huge believer in that. I believe in video. I believe that's why we do this podcast in video and have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Big believer in video to be able to do that, because they can see your eyes, they can see your face, and they can see sincerity. And so those things, those human things, are very important going through this down economy. Scrap everything else, in my opinion, because that's what you have to have, and a lot of it. But I will say, like, people misunderstand this branding term. So let me back up on this for a second. I have these discussions with marketers, entrepreneurs, very smart people all the time, but it's just a term that people misunderstand. I've seen branding experts, quote experts, and I have great conversations with them, but I don't always agree with them. And so where I come from on this is, it's not complex. Your brand already exists. It's not something that has to be created. It already exists. You have to do some research and discovery to find out what is it. It's lying in front of you. You just don't know how to describe it. You can't see it. You're too close to it a lot of times as a business owner, even as a CMO. Sometimes you've been in a company for too long and you can't see it anymore.
Yeah.
You got to hire somebody like me to come in. I'm sorry, self promo here. You got to hire somebody like me to come in and see it and call it out and take you through, I have that 10GS program, take you through the steps it takes to uncover, to find it. It's there. And every company has a unique DNA. And when you can take that, bring it to the surface, see it, identify it, and be able to describe it in your marketing, now you've got something to take to that social media person. Now you have something to start building content around. And this is the number one mistake I see: people trying to create something brand new versus taking what your magic is, what your secret recipe already is that's working for you with the current customers you have, and exposing that to find more customers like the great ones you have. It's not reinventing it. It's encouraging more of the great stuff you already have. And so that is my number one soapbox thing today. I'll let you talk here in a second.
No, you're doing great.
That is my piece of pie. If you want to differentiate, don't stay up late at night trying to figure out what to create new. Figure out what it is that you already have in front of you and polish that up. And you've got something that will get you through some hard times. And as we always say on this topic, when economy comes back, will soar you to the top and you will own market share.
Yeah. Let's talk. I'll layer into what you're saying here about your process and what I have, having gone through it also, and also being a marketer and a CMO. And then we can talk about maybe some outbound execution of this kind of messaging, which is what people really probably want to hear more about anyway. But the thing about this process is, if you're a small business, let's say under $10 million, most likely you've never done this before. So just because you are focused on your business and you've been growing it and developing it for years, so you have a brand. Just to your point, you already have one. Your customers know it, your employees know it, and you know it, but nobody's articulated it, right? And going from sort of that 10 million to 20 million is where you're like, okay, at some point you kind of feel the pressure of, I need to be able to really explain who I am and what I do, and also reach more people. And in a down economy, that's especially true. Like we've said it a million times already. So there's a great time to do it. Your piece is really like 3 sections. And this is sort of the branding foundation. And I would follow the same methodology. And it's, who are we? What do we do? Mission, values, that kind of stuff. Internally, who do we really feel like we are? Second, describing our personality, which is the next stage of some of those things, right? And writing our elevator speech. What is it we want to say we do for people, right? And then third is sort of the sales side of it is, What's our selling proposition? What are our differentiators? And what are the benefits of doing business with us? Just at a high level, all the benefits. And those three sort of columns, sections of this branding piece help you understand everything about you. And not a nitty gritty, not the messages themselves, not every single social post and every single headline and every printed piece of content, but now you have the foundation through which all of that stuff gets created. And now you can start executing, because as a marketer, you really understand who you are. So this is exactly the same process that I go through with people when I start somewhere as a CMO or I'm working with a client. I'm like, okay, do you have any of this? And to get this process started. And if you do, or if you don't, we're going to do it. This is the start, because I want to hear you tell me all of this stuff. And I don't want to hear it from one person. I want to hear all the color from all the commentary of all the different people in leadership positions across the organization, so that I can really digest all of that and say, I have a really excellent foundation to build a story and really start executing on that. So now I just said all the same things you just said again, but
No, I mean,
the other side of it is you've done this with clients. You're doing this every day right now. And I'm on the other side. As a CMO, this is what I would do. Exactly the same thing. So
what's interesting is this topic we're, on, which is, marketing a down economy. I think the time frame in which you've looked at, we mentioned website last time, the time frame in which you've looked at these pieces of it, like, has it been a couple of years? If it is, redo it. Like, it's time to look at it again, or it's time to refresh. And if your company hasn't evolved in 2 years, well, now you're talking about fossil problems. You got some real issues right there. Like, okay, call me. You're in a 911 situation.
Yeah, because if they haven't done it, just to your point of earlier, if they haven't done it, or they don't do it right now at the beginning of this recession, what's going to happen? The recession's going to hit them. They're going to feel it, and then 2 years from now, they're going to say, I have been getting killed. I have to do something about it. And everybody else has already done the work, and they're coming out. Mm-hmm. And you're still stuck. Just to your point, you're late to the game. Yeah. This is about being early to the game.
We should mention what doesn't work. I mean, yes. Let me tell you what doesn't work with me and I've seen it not work with a lot of customers, which is down economy. People aren't stupid. Your audience isn't stupid. Do not do stupid messages. And I'm being real blunt here with this. I'm going to be, because it drives me crazy. The commercial comes on. It's got the Americana music in the background, the flags waving. We understand these times are tough. That's why our team is dedicated to, or we've decided to discount our services to make up for all this bullshit. It's people don't buy it. Yeah. People don't buy it. It's a crock. And so don't waste your time going to that. When we're talking about branding and messaging, we're not talking about altering your messaging to do that. That's pretty pitiful. What we're talking about is angling towards a real need they have, and learning how to write compelling copy and saying things in a way that meet what you have to offer and the value of that with their needs. And there is answers there that aren't discounting. There's answers there that aren't American flags waving and the soft speech approach with your advertising and video. It's just
100%.
It makes me want to throw up, man.
So ridiculous. It's especially bad in like television, where there was and political climate and nationalism and 4th of July. It's just horrible. That's not a position. That is not your position as a company. That's everybody's suffering from that. Like that's not unique to you. Like, you didn't do anything special to help people. You want to help your customers, and you're talking about your message. One, email. You've got a database, most likely, of people. That's where you email them and say, hey, look, we are all suffering from the recession, the shift, the supply chain. Here's what we're doing to address the problem, to make sure we're here and available for you. And that's it. And reinforce, quality, expertise, and service. And they'll tell you if they're ready.
I've got a story for you.
Please.
This is really, if you're a mid-sized large company, you're going to hear this and like, this isn't relate. It relates big time. Here we go. So last fall, I was outside doing some yard work, and this kid pulls up. He's driving a really nice Mustang, actually. Pulls up, jumps out, comes over and says, "Hey man, I hate to bother you. I wanted to give you my business card." He said, I saw that you need your gutters cleaned. He said, I'll do it for $100. I'll go all the way around. And the backside of my house is a couple stories high, and a ladder. Most ladders I know won't even go there. You got to get on the roof and go around. And so he's like, man, I'd love to do it. He's like, I love helping people, love making money, man. I'll get it done. I'll do it tomorrow. I want to do the work. And I think about that. I just smiled from ear to ear because I was so intrigued by this kid's energy, his confidence, the want. And I was just like, yes, people like this exist. And I'm like, yes. So I hired him. And so I didn't think about the money. I'm like, $100. Do I have it? Guess I have $100. And some people are like, okay, well, our products are $10,000 or whatever.
Yeah, right.
That's not the point of the story. The point of the story is the kid come off with confidence and a smile and told me what he did and what he wants to do for me. And it had value. It hits people. This isn't new. This is just something you have to look at every person in your company who's client facing and ask, are they doing this? Are they presenting well? Because do people want to buy from them? Right? Because going back to the stories, and along with stories becomes confidence. When you have confidence in your present, in your marketing, in your social media, and you're happy doing what you're doing, if it's the end of the world and somebody's having a blast doing what they're doing, you quit thinking about the end of the world and you start looking into what they're doing, and they make you smile and feel good. Yeah. So be that for your customers. Yeah. Don't be doom and gloom. Be strong.
Yeah, I love that. And the way I look at this is, once you do this work of really evaluating your position, your brand, your voice, those kinds of things, and you get into messaging and talking, and then you start executing on content, right? We're talking about writing social, putting content on your site, whether that's video or written, very important. Whether that's getting interviewed in podcasts that are related, YouTube channel, video, right? Like you're doing something like this, whatever it is. All of those are good. All those are important. All those can be valuable to you. Especially if you're something that has a longer sales cycle, right? That needs a lot of, not explanation, but needs a lot of like talking points, right? Come on and do a show like this once a week. Pick a topic. The key in this situation is, one, you are a subject matter expert, or someone in your company is. They literally know more about what you do than most people on the planet will ever know. They are great at getting in front of people who are related to them and talking about it, and related to them being industry or, potential customer. Put those people out front, send them to conferences to be speakers, like help develop their thought leadership in the subject. This is a fantastic way, especially in B2B, for you to sell yourself without selling yourself too much, right? Like it's not a salesy approach. It's an awareness driver. But my favorite part is, who is more passionate about the industry than the subject matter expert? The people who 100% live it every day, whether that is, commercial construction, heating and cooling, whatever it is, software. There are so many people out there that are in these niche industries that know everything. They've been doing it for 20 years. They know everything about it. And there's no curveballs that they can't handle. Like, it's perfect. It's perfect. those videos can get captured, whether you're editing the hell out of them or not, doesn't matter. You get a transcript, you put it on your site, you can get some great SEO value out of it. You got it on your YouTube channel, you can promote it in social media. That's a voice. And all of that's just going to start layering on and more and more and more every week. It doesn't cost a ton, and it's time driven more than anything else. And it's all based on who you are. The work you do is understanding your customers, your competitors, and yourself, and being able to talk about your differentiators and what you bring to the table.
At some point, we're going to disagree on a topic, and we're going to have a knockdown, drag out fight on this show, but not today.
No,
not on this.
This isn't the one.
Like this isn't it. Like we wholeheartedly agree. The things that came to mind as you were saying that were things like good things happen when you get in front of people, right?
Yeah.
And so get in front of people. Like I'm talking to CEOs every day, right? And I put a post out there this week about you should be a people person, and you should know sales. Like you should be a salesperson if you're a business owner. If you're not,
I think your thing was you're your number one salesperson.
Yeah. So and PR person. So you better get your ass out there and do it, and quit whining about it. Get over it. Get in front of the camera. Quit talking about I don't like being on camera. Learn how to, because this is all free stuff. This is all ways that you can get out there. And as we said in the last episode, I keep referring back to other things we said, but we said, this is a volume game. This is a volume game right now. Like does matter what you say. It is the quality is important, but you have to get in front of as many people as you can right now, because if you should be doing it all the time, but this is a time where put on the work boots. You're going to work, get ready. Like, you're going to have to get busy on doing some actions and some activities that are different than what you've been doing. Get out of your comfort zone and go get it.
Yeah. If you're a CEO, you're obviously responsible for a tremendous amount of things, but one of them is you cannot rely on your sales organization to be the face of the company. It's you.
Yeah.
You are the face of the company. And if it doesn't mean you have to be in every video and you don't have to host. You have subject matter experts that are in their area of focus, and you should use them. Absolutely. However, you got to be in the mix. And maybe you're the host and you're bringing people in from the organization as the subject matter expert. You're driving, but either way, yes, the point is this is networking. There's no difference here. If that's how you think about it, thought leadership and networking are very similar. I want to go out to a group of people, talk about what I do, make connections. I want to be passionate. I want to see if there's an opportunity here to work together. This is mutually beneficial, win-win kind of stuff. If they're not winning, you're not winning. So your job is to now think about it the other way. If your job is to partner with your marketing organization to help open those channels, because most people do not. Now, you think that there are a million podcasts out there, but half of them are entertainment. They're not brass tacks business kinds of things. They're not in your subject or field. If you're especially if you're in a B2B kind of a business, or you're serving a customer like a home services, they're not, and if they're not in your geography. It's completely different space. So you have the opportunity to be the mayor of whatever in your industry, and there's no reason not to embrace that.
I want to talk about content. I love the topic of content. The agency I own, we did a lot, and we got good at finding what good content was, discovering it, or coming up with it. And a lot of people hang up on this. Even agencies I see hang up on, what do we do? And they come up with stuff really generic, and they research what others are doing. And I don't care what others are doing. I don't care what other companies are doing. I may want to see it just to know, make sure we're not overlapping, but pretty much not. The way I do it would be, I make it real life, man. This is real life. Marketing isn't some fantasy land. It's real life. And so example of this would be, I'm going to give you a piece of content that's coming from real life. Last night, went out 8:30 to get a sandwich, to get dinner. Went into a restaurant, and it's me and Patricia I never say her name. And we are one of two couples in this whole restaurant. And I said to her, I said, like, where is everybody? Did they quit eating? Like, I'm like, no, gas prices have gotten high enough, and inflation, and the cost of going out your front door is so high, it's got to be impacting these businesses. I know it was a late dinner. That's one thing.
Sure.
But usually at this time frame, I'm used to seeing half the place still full, especially in the summer. So I thought to myself, if they're home, it doesn't mean they're skipping dinner. You should be finding a way to go to them. So yes, there's DoorDash. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you should be doing marketing messaging, and I could see, commercials, videos on social. I could see, somebody sitting at home and is craving it, and like, finding ways to get the food to them, right? Like, you got to counter strategy. We talked about that also in the last one. So, but I'm telling you a story. And storytelling about something that happened last night, people seem to run out of content ideas, and I don't know why, because all they have to do is think about what happened yesterday, last night, today, last week. What happened, and what happened?
Yes.
What stories happened? What events? When you tell them, ideas spark. And if you have a creative person around you hearing those stories, they'll know how to take that creativity and make it into content, a video, an ad, whatever, or meme. Like they'll find a way to make it creative. And so
That's right.
It's important to have these creative meetings right now, often, to constantly come up with this and get more out there.
Yeah.
Another piece that I find interesting is your customers' problems, or your future customer and prospects' problems, and the things they're concerned about right now are different than they were a few months ago.
100%.
You think
whole thing is about that. Yes.
When you think it hasn't, you're like, oh no, it's basic needs. Like, it doesn't change. This is the basics of what. No, it's the way they think about it has changed. The way they think about it has changed. And I just gave you an example of that.
Yeah.
Is a change in behavior is gas prices went up. So I am not wanting to go out the front door and get in the car, or garage door and get in the car and go, because it's just, I constantly am spending money when I'm doing it. And so how can you answer back to that, right? I pay attention to phone calls, conversations, and emails. Or texts. What are people asking me about right now? And when you open your ears and you really listen to what their concern is, the emotion behind it, you start jotting those things down, and you then have the content. A lot of times it's very detailed. Somebody asked me the other day, what is your coaching pricing? Like, they asked early, like, what is your programs? What is your coaching pricing? Like, affordability is extremely important. It's also important not to hide it right now. If you hide it, people are going to be like, oh, okay, well, I don't have time to mess with this. He's gonna unleash a big price point on me. So, like, let him know, give him a range, give him something of comfort, right? And let him know you can or can't. And if they can't, don't waste their time, be upfront. But I'm tuning in to what people are saying, and they don't want long-term engagements right now. Can you help me short-term? Is there something we can do that's a smaller engagement? Yes, we can do, a few sessions based on this one problem we're trying to solve, right?
Yep. Honestly, when you said that, it's one of my favorite things to do after a lot of this branding foundational type work is to talk to customers. So the way I like to approach it myself is I like to do a lot of employee interviews. I like to do some group session type things to talk about the actual foundational things. And the last part is, now I know a whole bunch of stuff. Now I want to hear the pain points of the customer. And if I go talk to 5 customers or 10 customers, I'm going to bet that I'm going to get 3, 4, 5 really consistent messages in there that are painful for them. The supply chain is impacting them in some way, or fuel prices are killing them, so they're shifting because of that, or whatever. Inflation is doing something to them, whatever, right? Those are all external factors that are fairly recent, last year in some cases, a little bit longer maybe with supply chain, but those are all things that are impacting them. Beyond that, right? Those are all three very relevant topics, but beyond that are their traditional pain points. What happens to them every day in doing business with, in their line of work, talking to people, whatever it might be. But those conversations, especially to your point, especially with creative people, is the difference between creative people really like having pure good examples of things that happen every day to them and sort of guessing, and just taking the word of the sales organization or something like that. That's a really good point. As you're working with marketing people, it's a powerful thing, putting them face to face with customers so that they can hear it for themselves.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's great. It's
I
great.
like figuring out when you figure out your brand and what you stand for. You figure out your, I like to name, if there's a USP, that's great. Sometimes there's not, but these three differentiators, like these three key differentiators, right?
Yeah.
And to describe that would be, they're not just selling benefits. There are three things that most of the time your competitors don't have them. They can have them though,
Sure.
but they usually don't have all three together. Okay. So these are three things that together differentiate you when they're together, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I like going out then and asking customers, or doing research to future customers or prospects. I like asking them questions pointed towards those three things and getting their input on those three things. And if it's a customer, I like asking questions that say, how did that 10-year warranty factor into your decision? Or how did you take that when it was offered to you? Did that drive your decision in this? Like, it just because I may not use that piece of it, but if they say something good, I now have customers backing up on video or in content. I have them backing up something that we have identified as a differentiator that gives fuel to lift us up. So we've been talking a lot about this with the down economy.
Yep.
How can you surpass by a long shot? How can you just blow right by your competition? These are the types of things that help you blow right by your competition. It separates you so far because other people are saying the same things that you've been saying in your marketing. And you've seen this before and used a lot in commercials and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it's a great tactic right now.
Yeah. I think, when you're talking about differentiators, you have to get really specific. And we talk a lot about the three-legged stool, right? Good, fast, and cheap. You are not going to get all three. But almost all people, when they try to get into differentiators, what they say is, our quality is amazing, our timing is fantastic, and our price is great.
Or affordable. Like they use that word.
Affordable, right? Yeah, exactly.
What the hell does that term mean anyway?
Some word to describe, that they're pricing, right? Well, one, I'm just going to tell you, it's impossible. You can't be perfect on all three. And if you are, you're probably doing something wrong. One of the things I read recently was talking about, like, in a recession, is it a time to increase price? Because supply is down, demand is still high. That should drive your price up. But I think in a lot of people's businesses, timing now is the biggest factor, the turn. And, well, I guess maybe it'd be different if it was like a software or something like that, where timing is, you can get it any time. So it might be more about quality and price. But what you have to, my point here is when you're talking about your differentiators, you got to get really specific. You can't generalize with these big three and be like, well, because, every competitor you have is going to say the same three things. How do you really show people, describe to people the difference of doing business with you in regard to those things? If you really want to say it's quality, tell me, show me, what does quality mean to you? And sometimes that means a little industry jargon. That's fine. It's your industry. Your job is to educate customers. So start educating about why that that level of quality that you're using the lingo to describe, why is that important to them? That's your story. And in each one of these, there's a story, right? So your story is multifaceted, and you're building on all these things. And the more specific you are, the better off you're going to be, because your language in which describing it is going to get better.
Mhm.
You do this all the time, I'm sure, but
yeah,
a million examples.
I like taking the USP, the key differentiators, and again, narrowing them down to 3, right? Not a whole list. Because when I get done with clients, we got a list of like 15, 20 different selling benefits. Like there's a big difference, right? And so, but I like taking those top ones and then figuring out content to circle around them and really lift them up and support them, right? So you've got these video testimonials that you can do, tell stories all around them. And a lot of people, when they do videos or content, they try to do all 3 of them in it. They try to tell everything in it. It's like, no, take one, tell that story behind it, why it was important, and why did you do it? What real value did it have? And tell that piece of it. You'll get way more mileage out of that than you will if you're trying to do like cast that wide net. Screw casting the wide net right now, people. That's happened before the down economy. This is something that is failing over and over and over. Why do you keep doing it, man? Like, be very, very, very specific. Micro topics win out. And so it also makes you look like you know what you're talking about and that you're an expert. And like you said, a subject matter expert.
Yeah, well, and I think the thing is you're talking about here is, when we talked about volume before of content, this is what we're talking about. Like, don't make 1 minute and a half long video and expect every customer you've ever going to get in your entire existence is going to watch it before coming to you. 1, that is 100% never going to happen. And 2, you can't explain yourself in a minute and a half. So you're exactly right. Micro topic. It's good for your SEO. It's great for your site. It's great for your customer because they get to know you better, because you give them the opportunity to hear you go deep on something that's really, really relevant to you and to them. And then you're like, I did this and I did this and I did this and I did that and I did this and I did this. Those are each one a different piece of content, a video, a blog, a press release, a podcast topic. Each one of them is a standalone, and you do each of those 3 or 4 things, an email with each one of them. Well, now you get to tell your story in such microscopic detail, if you want to, that you're like, this customer really is really going to get to understand you 100% are the right person for them, because they're going to feel your personality. They're going to get a great sense that you really know what the hell you're talking about. And that's powerful. And you can still do that. I mean, I'm not talking about go long format on everything. I'm still saying, hey, man, maybe that's a minute long video. Okay, cool. It's a minute video, and it's a 1,000-word blog, and it's a 20-minute podcast video on your YouTube channel. Cool. Good. Done. Move on to the next one. And do that 100 times. Do it 1,000 times. Become known as the guy that has a ton of content on whatever your topic is.
Mm-hmm. And preferably even in a specific niche channel.
Yeah.
Where you're going after, one type of client. I was just thinking about, if you have a niche, if you have a specific audience you've been deep diving in, before it's too late, stop and think about that audience, and how is that audience drastically, is there spending cut? Will they get affected by this down economy? Will they be gone? Like, is everything going to dry up? I'm thinking like housing industry, things like that can happen, right? Yeah. It's like, has the industry that you're marketing to shown that it can last through all this and be tested and survive? Or is it volatile? If it's volatile and you've placed all your eggs in that basket, quit lying to yourself and telling you it's going to be okay. Start shifting. Keep that niche, start shifting somewhere else while you're doing it, and do it fast.
Yeah. Start asking all the questions.
I mean, if you're focusing in one area, then, it's sketchy. You don't know if it's going to sustain a down economy. It's questionable. Right. Protect yourself. Start looking at what areas are related or close to it that has similar types of clients and needs, that is an industry that's not going to suffer. So I've watched a lot of that, and it's interesting. I'll bring up Patricia again. She's from Venezuela, and I look at their economy is in the pits right now. It's been horrible, right? And it's the worst it can be. If I really want to take a look at it, and then what businesses survive during that, right? Oh, you'll find real quickly what can make it through and what can't, right?
Interesting, right?
Healthcare industry, no problems. Nothing in healthcare industry is going to be an issue. If you are in grocery store business, you food selling, necessities, food, things like that, like no problem. You might have supply issues, but you're going to sell whatever you get, and so, looking at that piece of it, if you sell designer stuff, that's high-end clothing or things like that, like you might be okay for a while because I heard this many times over. Well, our clientele they're wealthy and they're not affected by the economy.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Sooner or later they are.
Eventually, guess what? Eventually they get nervous too. And their pocketbooks tighten up. And so there are people that had a lot of money that quickly lost it because their business was affected. And so they tighten up. They are going to hold on to their reserves. Like, you will watch it. So you want to be very conscious and cautious about your target markets right now and make a change if you need to.
Yep. I think that's fair. And you're right on it. I was thinking about it while you were saying that, like, man, that would be great to go back to your industry in 2008 and think about what changed. And then think about what's different now. So the thing that was similar, 2008, fuel prices drove into a recession, similar to now. Fuel prices are driving in. And it's because the cost to deliver everything in the country went up. Whether it's shipped in, whether it's truck transported, whether it's on somebody's truck coming directly to you, whatever, the cost of that increased because of fuel. Okay, so that's the similarity. Supply chain, completely different. Like, it's a hot mess right now. And it wasn't like that back then. You could get everything, and pricing, frankly, for a lot of stuff was good. So inflation obviously wasn't an issue. The housing recession back in 2008 kept the interest rates low. And this is a little different. Obviously, the interest rates are, I actually saw a thing yesterday. The interest rate on a home mortgage was 7%. I was like, what the shit? Like, that's crazy. I mean, but that's not abnormal. People, we're both in our 50s. We were young people when this happened, but back in the 70s and then savings and loan, people talk about a home mortgage was 18% back then. Like, are we going to see that now? Maybe. I mean, it's crazy. It sounds insane, but
my dad mentioned that this last week.
He
said, "Why is everybody freaking out?" Well, back in my day, it was
18%.
And then we refinanced when it got lower, but we did just fine.
Yeah. We were talking about that just last night. Actually, it's funny you say that because somebody was like, "Well, it used to be 18," and I was just like, "My God, I hope not." Yeah. So,
but not everything else around them was also high at that time. Just to be fair.
Exactly. The price.
Not everything else around them had gone through the roof at the same time. It was just their mortgage, and so utilities weren't going through the roof. Poor me. I mean, it is rougher than it was then. I hate to say, pops.
It is. There's just more variables, and and the implication of technology obviously has just had a massive impact. So obviously, we're not diving into all that now, but the point I'm making is, look at 2008 and then look at now. What's the same? What's different? What's happening in your industry? And how can you shift? Where is the strategic opportunity? About yourself. You now are really focused, hopefully, on a content engine. Creating content is your bread and butter. It is 100% the difference maker in marketing today. And you can do it on the cheap. It is possible. If you're cutting, like we talked about back in the very first episode about down economies, if you're cutting your marketing budget because you don't want to spend a bunch of money promoting yourself, this is where money goes. take, a third of it, take a half of it, whatever that savings is, and put it into creating more content, and make your marketing team's job be create stuff in volume, create stuff in scale, pick a topic and create multiple things in a system that starts with video and podcasting and ends in press releases and blog posts, whatever, right? The point here is your job is to really amplify that. It's cost efficient, and the long-term play is so much better for you than promotional dollars spent, driving 2 customers. And you won't see an immediate return. You will not see an immediate ROI. In fact, half of this stuff is going to be incredibly difficult to track. But when the shift comes and the recession speeds up, the awareness that you've increased, the share of the voice that's out there, and your market share will have changed completely. And whether that's a year or 2 years, if you commit to this, it's the thing that pays off in 2 or 3 years, because now your salespeople are calling people who know you already, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I know you guys. Yeah. I've been listening to your podcast for years, or reading your stuff, or I saw your LinkedIn post, whatever." And it just makes everything easier for you. And it's an inbound versus an outbound. So,
amen. Can we pass the offering plate now?
Amen. I'm in.
Please donate. No, no.
We take donations in likes, subscribes, and shares.
Oh, there we go. That is.
There you go.
That's how you can give today. Give to the poor marketers.
That's right.
No, that's a great way to wrap it up. Agree with you 100% on those points. And I've had a lot of people reach out to me this week after our last episode, and they really highlighted on how much you can get for free, and how much opportunity is for no money, no spend. And I want to echo that. Like, you don't have to. There's a lot more activity and do. It is interesting that the agencies that are hot right now in the market that are like selling their businesses, right? The agencies are selling the quickest are agencies that are content or SEO. Some paid search. There's not a lot of dedicated paid search agencies out there, but of the ones that are coming onto the market that are selling quickly, it's content, because the demand for content is so high right now.
100%.
So check into if you're signing up with an agency, check it with their backlog, see if they're going to be able to get to you in time. Make sure that you're not going to be constantly waiting. You also, the other side of that is you have to be readily available to work with them for them to get what they need out of you if you're working with an agency, or find people that are freelancing that do this from their home, and that's all they do. And that way you can rely on a quicker turnaround, and just make sure they can handle the volume that you need. Because Trice, you were talking about volume. I agree with that. Is one post a week isn't what we're talking about here. We're talking about 1 post, 2 posts, 3 posts a day type of thing.
Yeah, I think if you can build a system that's like, create this, and this on one topic, on one interview or video, and it layers in, and you create all these different pieces on that one thing, and you do one of those a week, that's the goal, and really should be where you're driving. So,
okay. Any last points?
No, I'm good.
Good. I hope everybody got some takeaways today. That's awesome. Join us next week as we'll continue this conversation. And reach out to either one of us if you have questions about this episode. Comment below, and please share with other people. And then also join our LinkedIn group. We have a LinkedIn group that's all about growth-minded CEOs, CMOs, marketing leaders. And I'll put that link in the comments as well, so that you can check that out, get some more tips, and maybe rub shoulders with people who think like you and are aggressive about business growth and making it through this down economy with no problems. So look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, sounds good.